Hello everyone! In this week's video, I'm drawing two of my viewers' gacha characters. If you'd like to know how to submit a character for me to possibly draw in a video, all of the info is in the description. So in this video, I'm going to be trying something different. I occasionally like to play around with digital painting. I think it's a really fun way to work, and I also really like the look of it. However, I never really use it for finished illustrations. So in this video, instead of using my usual coloring style and process, I'm going to try digital painting. But first, let's see whose character I'm drawing first. So this character was created by Laiken. Their name is Mizuki Kawaru, and they are 16 years old. Mizuki used to get bullied because of his boring personality. Because he was bullied, he now changes his personality when meeting new people so that he is more likable. Mizuki is in the music club and only shows his true personality to the other members. His true personality is aloof, calm, and sweet. He is the only singer in the club and he is surprisingly very good at it. So let's start drawing Mizuki. So because Mizuki likes to sing, I decided to draw him singing. I feel like I've been getting a lot of characters that like to sing recently. But this time, since he's in a club, I'm going to actually have him use a microphone. So I feel like this will make it kind of fun and help change things up. At first I had him in this pose of holding the mic to his mouth while turning in side view. I was looking at many different references on Pinterest and I thought this pose was kind of cool, but I wasn't super happy with how it was turning out. So I decided to draw him in more of a front view and we are slightly looking up at him. So like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be experimenting with digital painting in this video. If you don't know what digital painting is, it's basically kind of mimicking the look and workflow of traditional painting digitally. I guess I don't totally know how to explain it. It basically just looks more painty-like. My usual style is very controlled and kind of systematic, I guess. I sketch, do the line art, fill in the base colors, and have all of the things on different layers, so it's easy to keep things separated and really clean. Whereas with digital painting, things are a little bit more chaotic, at least for me anyways. It's not as planned out and is a little bit more all over the place. I'll show you what I mean as I keep working on this picture. I put the mic on his stand because I liked his hand pose, but with how it looked like he wasn't totally gripping the mic, just like slightly holding it. So I have it on the stand so that I could keep the hand pose the same. I wanted it to look like his hand was kind of slightly resting on the mic. So after doing my rough sketch, I cleaned it up a little bit, and this is where I'd usually start working on my line art, but instead I'm going to go straight to coloring. So yeah, that's one of the nice parts about this is that I don't need to do line art. I do like line art, but it's not like my favorite part of the process, so it was kind of fun skipping straight to coloring. I start by making a layer under my sketch layer to fill in the base colors. For some reason with this picture, I really wanted to work with pink, purple, and blue. I decided that right away for some reason. It's one of my favorite color schemes. I always love using these colors together. They are always really calming to me. So I'm going to have a pink light source on the left and a blue one on the right, and the color in between is kind of purple. In my head, these are stage lights somewhere in the background creating this fun colored light. Filling in the base colors does take a bit longer than it usually does. My line art is usually pretty clean, so I can just use the paint bucket tool to fill in the base colors. But because I'm using my sketch for this, I need to kind of manually fill things in because it's kind of messy. And so to help me not get random white spots and also correctly shape things like the hair, I need to kind of fill it in manually. Now I'm going to put my coloring and my line art into a folder and then duplicate the folder. I make a copy just in case I mess things up and I want to start from scratch again. I'm going to merge all of my layers together and pretty much work on just that layer. This is very different for me. I'm the kind of person that uses way too many layers. Like, it's not uncommon for me to have 50 plus layers in a file. The reason why I merge everything together is because I'm going to be cleaning up the sketch as I'm coloring and shading the picture. It also makes it easier to blend all the colors together and change things. The hard part about pretty much everything being on one layer is that I do need to be more careful when coloring. Usually things like the hair and the skin are on different layers, so they can't interact with each other. But now, since they are in the same layer, they can interact with each other. So I've shaded the hair with pink and blue highlights. Now I'm working on the skin. For pretty much all the shading, I'm using the thin gouache brush. I have tried playing around with the many different paintbrushes in Clip Studio Paint, and for some reason this one is my favorite. I really like it. It always has a nice texture, and I like how it interacts with things, and I have a good understanding of how it works. So yeah, I really like the thin gouache brush. When you see me blending colors out, I am often using the blending tool, or I'm using the thin gouache brush with no paint in it and also a low density, but usually I'm using the blending tool. I'll often set it so it doesn't have super soft edges. That way it mimics with the look of my paintbrush, so it doesn't look like a totally different brush. Oh, and here I'm working on the hand. In my head, the pink light source is brighter than the blue one, so I make the lighting on the left where his fingers are really bright. As I was coloring, I kept trying to select colors within the picture to help keep things feeling cohesive, instead of always making new colors over in the color wheel. And I feel like it really helped the coloring come together, and I like the feel of it. My favorite part on the hand is the blue lighting on the back of it. I like how it looks. I feel like it turned out neat. It's kind of weird because when doing digital painting, I feel like my brain enters a different mindset. I can't totally explain it. It feels different for some reason. It's like I'm okay with things being more messy and having hard edges and looking kind of painty. Compared to my normal style, I feel like everything needs to be smooth and clean. This work process also feels a little bit more freeing for some reason, just because I can so easily change things without having to dig through a bunch of layers. Kind of like when I was working on his jacket, I got rid of my sketch almost entirely because I want the light to feel really bright and powerful. I had a lot of fun rendering the jacket. I love mixing the pink and the blue on the white parts of his jacket. White is really susceptible, is that the right word? To lighting, so if there's a certain colored lighting, the white will really take on that color. I always find white is a really fun color to play around with. Now his eyes were kind of tricky, and I did decide to use multiple layers for it because the eyes are kind of the focal point of pictures for me, so I always want them to look really nice. I made a new layer to add the white parts of the eyes. I made a new layer because I wanted to play around with the opacity of the white to pick how bright it is. Then I add some shading to the upper part of the entire eye. For the irises, I made some blue ovals on a new layer. I got rid of the irises on my original layer to clean things up. Then I shade them in with a dark blue at the top and around the edges. I also had a light color at the bottom, some highlights, and a little bit of details in the iris. Lastly, I play around with the correction layers to adjust the colors a little and add some lighting effects to make the lighting feel a little bit more dramatic. And here's my finished picture of Mizuki. Thank you so much to Lakin for submitting your character. I hope you don't mind that I tried a new work style for this illustration. Also, I just realized I forgot the band-aid on his face. Sorry about that. But I did have a lot of fun working on this picture. So this character was created by Audrey. Their name is Melanie, and they are 20 years old. Melanie lives in a swamp and can control time. She likes watching and replaying memories. Occasionally, she will look through her floating clocks, which holds all of her power. So let's start drawing Melanie. I want to start off by saying that I really like Melanie's look and the feel about her. It's really neat, and I like her aesthetic. So because she lives in a swamp, I wanted to draw her in a swamp. I've never drawn a swamp before, so this sounded like fun. My concept was to have her surrounded by trees and fog, and I wanted her to kind of just be standing there looking at us. I thought having her standing really still would make it feel kind of off-putting for some reason. I'm also going to have the clocks floating around her. I think the clocks are really neat. I don't know, I just kind of like clocks for some reason. A lot of her body is going to be in the water. I imagine the water is dirty because it's a swamp, so I'm not going to make it transparent. Also, because the back of her hair is really long, I thought it'd look interesting to have her hair float on the surface of the water. After getting my rough sketch in place, I start working on my cleanup sketch. Oh, also, I'm really excited because I finished my light novel project. As many of you know, for the month of October, I challenged myself to create a book with illustrations in it. It's called The Autumn Festival, and it's about my original characters Tokume and Koyuki. As I'm recording the audio, I'm going to receive the proof copy tomorrow. I'm so excited to see a physical copy of the book. If everything looks good with the proof copy, I hope to have the book available for sale really soon. Hi, so future editing Rebecca here. I was going to talk about how I will announce when the book is available for sale on my different social medias and stuff, but it turns out the book is now available for sale. The review process went a lot faster than I thought it would. So yeah, I'm super excited. It's available for sale on Amazon, and I'll put a link in the description and in a pinned comment, so you can check it out if you want to. I'm really excited to release this book. And thank you so much to anyone who takes the time to check it out or buy it. It means so much to me. So yeah, anyways, back to the video. So like with the previous picture, I filled in the base colors and merged my layers together. I skipped this because it's not super entertaining. But now I'm working on the background. I have two large trees in the foreground, and I add a bunch of trees in the background that get lighter and smaller as they go into the distance. To make the background look foggy, I erased the trees along the bottom with a soft eraser brush. So now I'm going to start shading Melanie. I feel like one thing that is pretty different for my painty style is the way I shade hair. Like I mentioned, with digital painting, I don't feel as much of a need to make things neat and clean. I'm okay with things looking a little bit more artsy and painty. So I don't totally blend things out. I'm looser with my brush strokes, and I kind of just think about the shapes of things and how to convey the shapes. So I feel like it kind of changes how I shade the hair, and I kind of like it. It feels more detailed. So yeah. This time for shading the face, to make applying the shadows easier, I made a new layer above my main layer and set it to multiply. By setting the shadow layer to multiply, it won't cover up my sketch underneath. And then once I was done applying the shadows, I merged that layer down when I wanted to blend things out more. This made applying the shadows a lot easier because I didn't have to worry about covering up my sketch. But then when I merged it down and blended things out, I was able to cover up parts of my sketch that I did want to cover up or clean up. While working on this picture, I kind of felt like I was struggling with it more than the previous picture. I think it's because the light source wasn't super strong and there wasn't much for an interesting lighting situation at the moment. So I was having a hard time picking colors and making things look interesting because overall the lighting was a little boring. It felt dull, which is what I was going for, but it felt a little too dull. Oh, right here, I'm adding the ripple effect to the water. This was really fun. I kept selecting colors from Melanie and then applying it in the water. I feel like it ended up looking kind of neat because we kind of see the reflection of her colors in the water. For the rest of the water, I applied a water texture to it and then blended it out to make it match the rest of the picture. Now I'm adding the clocks, and this was really fun. To make them, I make a black circle and then a teal circle inside of it. Then I add the lines around the edges and the different hands on the clock. I wanted the clocks to look mystical, so I played around with the layer settings until I got the look that I was looking for. I also play around with the correction layers to see if I can make the lighting look more interesting. I did get something that I liked. I then add some black around the edges of the picture to make it overall feel darker and a little bit more moody, and to help draw our eyes to Melanie. I do end up turning these layers off for a little while so I can continue tweaking the picture, because when I use the eyedropper tool, it selects the color that's currently there with the correction layers, but the correction layers are changing the colors, so it messes the colors all up and the color I select isn't the color that comes out. I don't know if that makes any sense, but basically to keep painting I need to turn off the correction layers and then I'll turn them back on later. I randomly got this idea to make Melanie's eyes glow. I apologize if they don't glow, but I thought it would look really cool. And then I also decided to make the clocks glow. I'm really happy I thought of this because this is what the picture really needed. Like I mentioned, things were feeling kind of dull, but by adding this pop of teal, it made everything feel more interesting and really pop. I really like the addition of all of the glowing effects. So what do you think of this digital painting style? I had a lot of fun working like this. It was really nice to experiment and try something new. I kind of want to see if I can find a way to combine the digital painting style with my normal style because things are kind of messy. If you zoom in, you can tell it's kind of messy and not super neat. So maybe I can find a way to make things cleaner, but also have kind of the same look as the digital painting. So yeah, you can let me know what you think of this digital painting style. Do you want to see more of this coloring style in the future, or do you not want to see it anymore? You can let me know. So here are the finished illustrations of Mizuki and Melanie. Thank you so much to Audrey and Lakin for submitting your characters. It was so much fun to draw them, and I hope you like the pictures. Also, I want to give a big thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. Thank you all so much for supporting my work and my channel. It means so much to me. If you are interested in high-resolution files of these pictures I created in this video, along with the Clip Studio Paint files, they are available to my patrons over on Patreon. Anyways, that is all for this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next week in my next video. Bye!